Good morning. It's Wednesday, October 2nd. I'm Jasmine Anderson. Stepped up police patrols here on the island as Jewish people around the world get ready to celebrate the high holy days. Nassau and Suffolk police say they have increased security at houses of worship. They say there is no credible threat. Rosh Hashanah marks the beginning of the Jewish high holy days tonight. It comes as the world waits to see how Israel responds to yesterday's missile attack by Iran. Iran fired about 180 missiles at Israel. The U.S. helped shoot down the missiles. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying Iran made a big mistake and it will pay for it, end quote. Threats to Long Island schools have tripled compared to last year. We're just a month into the new school year, and Nassau and Suffolk police have reported 110 incidents.
Who's ever doing this has to stop and think of what kind of human being they want to be. Do they want to be a human being that scares people and causes us to have false alarms and waste valuable resources that could be used in other areas?
Police say if you hear about a school threat, call 911 instead of posting it on social media. President Biden will visit North and South Carolina today to tour Helene's devastation. It comes as a search for survivors grows more desperate, with hundreds of people missing. Parts of the region are still without water, power, and cell phone service. We spoke with a Bayshore native who's struggling in the aftermath.
It's catastrophic. There's whole roads that are totally washed out. A lot of people are stranded. There's been a lot of search and rescue operations going on here. It's taken, 5 days to even start getting water to distribute because the major highways were closed in 3 directions. We have rain barrels, and so we have to empty the rain barrels and boil the water to wash the dishes.
Just unbelievable. The storm's death toll now tops 160 people across 6 states. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is back in court today. A federal judge in Manhattan could set a preliminary timetable for Adams' trial. Adams is facing 5 felony counts, including bribery and wire fraud. It's day 2 of the dockworker strike. Nearly 50,000 members of the International Longshoremen's Association are still on the picket lines. The strike will stop the flow of a wide variety of goods over the docks of almost all cargo ports from Maine to Texas, including right here in New York. One local business is already feeling the impact.
We have now, quite a few shipments that are supposed to be going international, which we're now stuck having to do storage because no one wants their shipment stuck in a terminal.
Estimates show the strike could cost the economy nearly $5 billion a day. Commuting to Grand Central Madison could be easier. A new office tower started to build on 45th Street will come with a new entrance on the station. Taxes from the tower will help fund MTA projects.
This project over time is expected to generate $1 billion in ground rent and real estate taxes to support the MTA capital program.
The new entrance is expected to be completed by mid-2026. The 2 candidates running for vice president just faced off. Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Republican Ohio Senator J.D. Vance were in Manhattan last night. They focused more on policy than personal attacks. They touched on immigration, abortion, and the economy.
Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that.
We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well.
Polling shows Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump remain in a statistical dead heat in most swing states. Joining us now with the key takeaways is Newsday columnist Joy Brown. Joy, let's get right to it. How did this debate differ from the presidential debate?
Civility. No cuts, no quips, no jokes. And in addition to that, both of them tried to really drill down on policy and their differences in policy. The other thing that was different here was the focus on foreign affairs up front. They didn't talk about Ukraine, but there was a lot about Israel.
So there was more focus on policy, less on personal attacks. Were there any surprises?
Well, I get the sense that Tim Walz was a bit surprised when he had to admit that he made what he called knuckleheaded mistake of saying that he was in China during the Tiananmen Square uprising when in fact he was not in China. And I think J.D. Vance at the end of the debate danced around the question of who had won the last election, while at the same time saying that he couldn't say, or he didn't say, whether or not he would certify the next one.
Which brings me to this question. How did they do?
Well, J.D. Vance is clearly the more polished debater here. I think that Tim Walz found his footing talking about policies that were implemented in his state as a governor, as an executive. He's more comfortable talking about those things. I also think that the two of them, they did what they were supposed to do, which is defend their presidential candidate while attacking the other presidential candidate, while at the same time giving viewers some sense of what they might be like, since they are the next in line to be president should, heaven forbid, something happen.
So the former vice president is scheduled to speak, Mike Pence, on Long Island for the Long Island Association. What do you expect to hear from him? What do you think?
Look, anything he wants to say, I think Long Islanders want to hear, given everything that he went through and given where we are in the country with this campaign right now. Former vice president, formerly loyal to Donald Trump, he ran for president. Let's hear what he has to say.
We'll be waiting. Well, thank you, Joy. Appreciate you. Read more about this story on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Only in Newsday, the town of Oyster Bay is being accused of slowing down the cleanup at a local park. 22 chemical drums were dug up from the Bethpage Community Park early this year. A Newsday investigative reporter, Paula Rocco, breaks down these accusations coming from the DEC.
Even before the 22 concrete encased chemical drums were found beneath Bethpage Community Park earlier this year, that site had been subject of many years of delays and infighting over the cleanup of the contaminated soil. So they've reached a point now where Grumman is doing some of the treatment to heat and remove chemicals from the soil, but they're trying to plan ahead to get a plan in place for the final phase, which is to remove the PCB contamination from the soil and excavate a portion of the soil and basically be able to finish the project. So the DEC wrote a letter to the town of Oyster Bay last week, basically accusing the town of not being willing to negotiate with Grumman to get on the same page about this part of the cleanup so they can get this EPA approval.
Process to clean the soil began in 2020, but the final cleanup won't start until at least 2026.
There have been a lot of setbacks even before the drums were discovered, and since then they've worked to catch up to some of the plans they were on before, but because of all this disagreement over the extent of the soil excavation that's necessary, Grumman recently released a plan that estimated they probably can't get to that portion and finish it for almost 4 years now, in which case it would be well over 25 years since the large portion of the park was first closed because of this contamination.
Read more about this story on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Two Long Island sisters taking steps to prevent breast cancer. Beth Whitehouse has a story you'll see only in Newsday.
A mastectomy is not a boob job, it's an amputation, so I think that's a very important distinction to make.
Long Island sisters Amy Lynn and Danielle Safety each had both breasts removed in their 20s before they even had any signs of breast cancer. They had inherited a gene mutation that gave them an 87% chance of developing breast cancer in their lifetimes.
So I decided to have a prophylactic double mastectomy at 29 years old, but it's not just a one and done type of thing. That was my first of 5 procedures in order to reconstruct my chest post-surgery.
A way to kind of describe it for the layperson to understand is basically like a pumpkin being carved. So carving the inside of a pumpkin out, meaning carving all of the breast tissue out of the skin that surrounds it, which would completely or almost nearly eliminate your risk of developing breast cancer. My mom had cancer, so with cancer, most of the time comes with chemo and radiation, losing your hair, being completely bald, chronic fatigue, nausea, no appetite, and watching my mom kind of go through that. I personally never wanted to be in a similar situation.
The family was surprised to find out it wasn't mom who passed the daughters the mutated gene.
Well, they did the testing and I'm the one that had it.
Were you shocked?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about it. With Guy, you don't think about breast cancer. So yeah, I was shocked. And then I started thinking about My dad's like, well, my sister Vicky had it, my sister Celia had it, you know, and then their daughters had it. It's like, yeah, it came from his side.
David says he felt responsible for his daughter's pain.
Yeah, I felt very guilty. But, you know, what can I do about it? It's a gene, right?
Actually, in 2024, there is something the sisters can do to eliminate the mutation in future generations.
I decided to undergo 2 rounds of cryopreservation, which is also known as egg freezing. That way, in the future, when I'm ready to have a family, I could eventually test my embryos to see if they carry the mutation, and I can selectively eliminate the mutation from my family tree.
For Newsday TV, I'm Beth Whitehouse.
Read more about this story on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. The Mets are looking to close out Milwaukee in the NL Wild Card Series today.
Bases loaded, 2 out on the 5th. First pitch, line the other way, base hit right field. Lindor is in, Iglesias being waved in. Frelick's throw to the plate, not in time, sliding in safely.
Look at that, a 5-run 5th inning helped the Mets beat the Brewers 8-4 last night to take Game 1 of the best-of-3 series. The Amazons need a win today or tomorrow to advance to the ALDS to face the Phillies. Now, the Yankees are getting ready for their American League Division Series showdown. The Bombers were back on the practice field yesterday in the Bronx. On Saturday, they'll host the winner of the Orioles-Royals series for Game 1. Good luck.
More than 70 suspicious deaths have gone unsolved on Long Island over the last 48 years. Newsday investigates how law enforcement is trying to bring closure to victims' families. The Forgotten, an exclusive Newsday investigation. Coming soon at Newsday.com.
Checking out your hyperlocal Wednesday weather. No real big changes today, but we're still going to talk about it. Checking out your day planner. Mostly cloudy today, highs in the 60s. Tomorrow, we're partly cloudy, highs in the 70s, so we do warm up a little bit. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast.
Long Island weather is brought to you by PTRC.
I'm Jasmine Anderson. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching.